In the previous panels we have looked at the two positions regarding the Negat Sarad that attacked a building in Eretz Israel. On the one hand, it is described as a reflection of Omek Hara, on the other an expression of Ribi Hatov. The Omek Hara component reflected the degree of Tumen, namely Shalosh Klipot HaTameyot, and the eventual destruction and rebuilding elevated the status from the Shalosh Klipot HaTameyot, in this case, to Kedusha. The thesis of the Rebbe, based upon the Rambam, was that the same forces existed for the Negat Sarad that afflicted the body, came about, according to the Rambam, on account of the unwillingness of the individual to take responsibility for the collateral damage that he or she caused through Lashon Hara. To rectify the situation, one was required to undertake a process of tshuva, taking ownership and responsibility for the damage that had been caused, and in this way, if successful, through the process of tshuva, one reaches the Ribi Hatov component of the Negat Sarad. The power of Teshuvah is reflected in the opinion of Rabbi Avahu, recorded in Masechet Brachot 34b, who maintains that Makom Shabali Teshuvah Omedin, loosely translated as the levels to which a Baal Teshuvah reaches, even the Tzadikim Gemurim Einan Omdim, a Tzadik Gamor, one who has never sinned in one's lifetime, cannot attain those. Rabbi Avahu bases his opinion on a fragment of a Pasuk Yeshayahu 57:19 that states, Shalom Shalom l'rachok u'lekarov Amar Hashem. According to Rabbi Avahu, the subject here is one who was rachok, far away, disconnected from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who then, through Teshuvah, becomes karov, attaches him or herself to monotheism and to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. According to Rabbi Avahu, the descriptive that is applied to the Baal Teshuvah is that he or she reaches the level of Shalom Shalom, a double level of absolute peace and serenity, indicating that the Baal Teshuvah stands even higher than the Tzadik Gamur. It should be noted that the position of Rabbi Avahu disagrees with that of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan maintains that the Tzadik Gamur reaches the absolute ultimate in terms of closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is reflected in the messianic prophecies of Yeshayahu 64, that in the messianic age, Ayin lo ra'ata, there'll be a revelation of Kedusha that no human being ever saw, Elokim Zelotecha, a level of Kedusha that only God had access to, and that level of a Kedusha will be available in the Messianic age, but limited to the exceptional few described as a Tzadik Gamur, individuals who had never once violated Torah law. All the other prophecies, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that are promised are of a lower level and will be available to the Baal Teshuvah, those who had sinned and had undertaken a tshuva process to remove the effects of their wrongdoing. From the standpoint of halacha, the Rambam himself sides with the position of Rabbi Avahu, where in Hilchot Tshuva Perek 7 halacha 4 he writes that the Baal Tshuva, one who had sinned and repented, should not consider himself distanced from the level of righteousness on account of his or her averot. The Baal Tshuva is beloved and desirable before Kadosh Baruch Hu as if he had never sinned. Through the process of Teshuvah, the energy used in violating Torah law is converted to Kedusha, a concept that is reflected in Kabbalistic thinking. Furthermore, the Rambam writes that with respect to the ultimate reward in the Messianic era, the Baal Teshuvah's reward is greater than that of the Tzaddik, in that he or she has ta'am tam hachet, tasted the sin, been involved with Torah violation, and yet separated himself from it, and thereby conquering his Yetzer Hara. The Tzadik Gamur, by definition, does not have a Yetzer Hara, cannot sin, and therefore has never been exposed to the possibility of violating Torah law. The Rambam then goes on to quote from the Gemara Masechet Brachot that the levels that the Baal Teshuvah reaches, even the Tzadik Gamur cannot reach, for they have overcome their Yetzer Hara inclination in the process of their Teshuvah. Accordingly, one who has been afflicted with a Negat Sarad has undertaken a process of Teshuvah, reaches the highest level of Kedusha, as reflected in the Riboy Hatov component of the Negat Sarad. This is based upon the position of Rabbi Avahu in Masechet Brachot and brought down into the world of Halacha by the Rambam. Although not directly relevant to the Sikha, the Machaloket between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Avahu on the status of Baal Teshuvah emanates from a rather interesting Mishnah regarding the role of what we of today ascribe to a Rebbe. A Mishnah and the accompanying discussion in the Gemara will be looked at in the next panel.